I killed my marriage with a single email, forwarding the proof of his affair to every board member at his precious firm. The night before our 10th anniversary. But that was just the appetizer. What came next was a feast of ruin, served cold from the grave of the life we'd built together. You see, I didn't just expose his dick pics. I unearthed the skeleton he'd buried in our joint bank account. The one that could have landed him in federal prison if I'd timed it right. My name is Lillian Harper, and for 12 years, I was the perfect wife to Victor Kane, architect of empires, king of cutthroat deals, and the man who whispered in my ear every morning that women like me were built for supporting roles, not leading ones. You're my rock, Lil, he'd say, his breath hot against my neck as he zipped up his Armani suit. But rocks don't climb mountains. I believed him.
God help me.
I poured my soul into his rise, ghostwriting proposals that won him multi-million-dollar contracts, crunching numbers late into the night while he schmoozed at galas. And when the IRS came knocking about that creative accounting in his firm's books, falsified invoices, offshore shells, I took the fall. Signed the plea deal. Did 18 months in a minimum security hellhole upstate, all to keep his golden boy image intact. For us, he begged, tears in his eyes that I now know were crocodile. Our future. Out on parole in 2018, I emerged from those razor wire gates a ghost of the woman who'd entered, thinner, sharper, with eyes that saw the world in ledgers of debt unpaid. Victor was waiting in a leased Lexus, all apologies and fresh flowers, swearing he'd wait forever. I love you,
Lil.
This changes nothing, but it changed everything. While I rotted, he'd pivoted the firm into green tech, riding the wave of Biden's infrastructure bill to new heights. And me, I started small, a freelance consulting gig from his spare bedroom, advising startups on sustainable logistics. Irony, right? The wife who cooked the books for fossil fuels, now greening the supply chain. Those first months were a blur of rage-fueled insomnia. I'd stare at the ceiling fan whirring like a guillotine blade, replaying the courtroom scene, me in orange, nodding meekly as the judge sentenced me to time served plus community service, while Victor sat in the gallery, his face a mask of feigned devastation. The secret he'd buried? Not just the fraud I'd covered for his mistress, too. The perky intern who'd been siphoning petty cash for her side hustle. But the real gut punch was the email chain I'd found on a forgotten thumb drive, tucked in his golf bag, him laughing with his partners about how I'd volunteer for the rap because Lillian's got that martyr complex. Makes her perfect for this. I didn't confront him then. No, that would have been too clean. Instead, I smiled through the homecoming dinner he threw, lobster thermidor and champagne toasts from his sycophantic colleagues. To resilience, he toasted, clinking my glass. I clinked back, my mind already mapping the countermove. By dawn, I'd incorporated my own LLC, Harper Logistics Solutions. No fanfare. Just me, a second-hand laptop, and a Rolodex of contacts I'd memorized from his Rolodex. The grind was biblical. Dawn runs along Lake Michigan's edge, pounding pavement until my lungs burned like penance. Afternoons cold calling VCs who laugh me off. Sweetie, we've got enough women-owned shops pitching diversity quotas. Evenings, buried in Excel sheets, modeling algorithms that optimized carbon footprints for trucking fleets. Victor noticed. Of course. What's this side project?
Hun?
Don't burn out. You know what the doc said about stress post. You know. He meant prison. The word hung unspoken. A guillotine drop. I'd force a laugh. just keeping busy while you conquer the world. By 2020, pandemic chaos was my unlikely ally. Supply chains snapped like brittle bones. And suddenly, everyone needed a lifeline. My first big win was a contract with a Midwest grocer, rerouting their fleet to cut emissions by 40%, saving them a fortune in carbon taxes. Word spread. Then came the angel investor, a no-nonsense ex-Google exec named Rita, who saw through my pitch to the fire beneath. You've got scars.
Lillian.
Use them. She fronted the seed round. And Harper Logistics ballooned. Remote team of coders in Austin. Warehouse pilots in Detroit. Victor's eyes narrowed at dinner parties. Impressive.
Lil.
But it's cute, playing in the kiddie pool while I'm building dams. He wasn't wrong.
Not yet.
His firm, Kane Ventures, was landing federal grants for EV infrastructure. His face plastered on Forbes as the green Goliath of the Great Lakes. But cracks showed. Whispers at industry mixers. Audits pending. Partners jumping ship. I filed them away like ammunition. And then, the betrayal's second act, his affair reignited. This time with my lead developer, a sharp Yale grad named Elena, who joined us post-funding. I caught them in our guest house, his hands on her waist, her laughter echoing like shattered glass. No confrontation. Just a quiet severance for her. Framed as cultural misalignment, Victor never knew I knew. Revenge isn't a sprint, it's a siege. I doubled down, poaching talent from his firm, discreet headhunters, signing bonuses from my war chest. By 2023, we disrupted his flagship project, a solar farm deal in Indiana that I'd undercut by 15% on costs, all while baking in ESG compliance he couldn't match without bleeding cash. Lawsuits flew, non-competes, IP theft claims. He dragged me into mediation, his lawyer sneering across the table. Mrs.
Kane.
This is harassment born of bitterness. I leaned in, voice steady as steel. Call me MS. Harper. And bitterness? That's your client's specialty. The room went electric. Victor's face, that face, flushed crimson. Veins bulging like rivers about to flood. You bitch, he hissed under his breath. The mediator adjourned for recess. And in the hallway, he cornered me. What the hell are you doing?
Lil?
We're family. Family. The word tasted like bile. I straightened my blazer, the one tailored from the same bolt as his. Family doesn't frame its own for felony fraud.
Vic.
But hey, water under the bridge. Congrats on the shortlist for Business of the Year. I'll see you at the gala. That was the hook he swallowed. The Chicago Business Journal's awards, the Oscars of the Midwest economy. Victor had been nominated 3 years running. Always the runner-up to some tech bro or union buster. This year, he was the favorite. His solar empire touted as revolutionary.
Me?
A wild card entry. My firm a blip on the radar. Up-and-comer in sustainable logistics. The ceremony loomed like Judgment Day. Black tie at the Palmer House. Chandeliers dripping opulence over a sea of backslappers. Weeks blurred into war rooms. My team, loyal misfits I'd handpicked, burned the midnight oil. Refining our submission, data visualizations of slashed emissions. Testimonials from blue-collar drivers whose routes I'd humanized. Rita coached the pitch. Own the room.
Lillian.
You're not asking for a seat. You're claiming the head. Victor ramped up the mind games. Late-night calls. Feigned concern. Heard you're up for the award. Proud of you.
Babe.
Let's bury the hatchet. Dinner after? I demurred, citing deadlines. Truth? I was fortifying the moat. The night arrived. Humid July air clinging like regret. I stepped into the ballroom in emerald silk, color of envy.
Cut to kill.
Heads turned, whispers rippled. That's Victor Kane's ex? The one who did time? Ex? We'd never divorced. He was at the bar, arm around a redhead half his age, schmoozing donors. Our eyes met across the crowd. His smile a predator's flash. I nodded, cool as lake ice, and took my seat with Rita. Speeches droned, platitudes on innovation, resilience. Then the category, Business of the Year. Envelope slit, announcer's voice booming, in a race that redefined green enterprise. The winner is Pause Eternal. Harper Logistics Solutions. The room erupted. Rita crushed my hand. I rose, legs jelly beneath the gown, ascending the stage to thunderous applause laced with shock. Flashbulbs popped like gunfire. At the podium, mic in hand, I scanned the faces, allies beaming, skeptics agape. Victor, front row, clapped slowly, his eyes twin coals. Thank you, I began, voice steady. This isn't just about numbers or networks. It's about reclaiming what's yours after the world tries to bury you alive. Laughter. Uneasy. To the mentors who saw potential where others saw weakness. To the teams that build empires from ashes. And to the husbands who say women can't climb mountains, watch me summit. The mic drop echoed. Ovations swelled. But as I descended, Victor was there. Champagne flute extended. Brava.
Lil.
You earned it. His grip on the glass was white-knuckled. I accepted.
Sipped.
Let the bubbles burn. Thanks.
Vic.
Your turn next year. We clinked. The sound a death knell. My husband said women don't build success. Years later I beat him to Business of the Year, continued. That win was my Excalibur, pulled from the stone of his skepticism. Overnight, Harper Logistics became the darling of venture capital. Series B funding poured in from Silicon Valley vultures scenting blood. Warehouses sprouted in Cleveland, algorithms licensed to Fortune 500s. Forbes ran a profile. From prison cell to boardroom throne, Lillian Harper's revenge arc. The headline thrilled me. A scarlet letter turned badge. Victor? He seethed in silence at first, then struck back with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. It started with anonymous leaks to the Journal, innuendos about my questionable past, tainting client deals. Is Harper's greenwash built on dirty foundations? One op-ed sneered, dredging up my plea deal like roadkill. Sponsors wavered. A key retailer pulled out, citing reputational risk. I lawyered up, countersued for defamation. But the damage was a slow bleed. Rita called it psyops. He's flipping the script.
Lil.
Making you the villain in his redemption story. Villain?
Me?
The woman who'd laundered his sins so he could play saint? I doubled down on transparency, public audits, TEDx talks on second chances. Crowds ate it up. Standing ovations from women's networks. Podcast invites from equity warriors. But Victor was a chameleon, shedding skins faster than a snake in heat. By fall, he pivoted public persona, the remorseful hubby turned ally. A joint interview pitch to CNBC, power couple reboots after rock bottom. His people called mine, I declined. But he ambushed at a charity gala. All smiles and sobriety.
Lil. Can we talk?
He looked older, lines etched like fault lines around his eyes. The redhead was history, now it was AA meetings and therapy jargon. I've been soul-searching. What I did, to you, to us, it's unforgivable. But forgiveness. That's the real power move, right? His hand on my arm. Warm. Familiar. For a heartbeat. I wavered, the old muscle memory of love, twisted now into something feral. Vic. I'm busy building. He nodded. Wounded puppy eyes. I get it.
Just.
Dinner? For old times. I went. Not for him, for the intel. The steakhouse overlooked the loop, twinkling lights mocking our wreckage. Over ribeyes. He spilled, firm hemorrhaging cash. Partners defecting to my orbit. You're killing me.
Lil.
Not figuratively, literally. Blood pressures through the roof. Sympathy ploy? Or genuine fracture? He slid a folder across the table. Blueprints for a merger. What if we combine Kane Harper synergies? Your ops. My infrastructure. We dominate. My fork paws midair. Merger? It reeked of Trojan horse. Swallow my firm. Purge the troublemaker, CEO. But the numbers.
They sang.
Synergies could scale us national. Crush competitors. I probed. And the past? The fraud? You confess. Or I stay solo. His laugh. Bitter as bourbon. Water under the bridge. Remember? But for you.
Yeah.
I'll make it right. Lies. All of it. I'd hacked his email weeks prior, nothing fancy. Just a phishing link disguised as a vendor invoice. There it was, frantic text to a fixer in Delaware. Wiring hush money to bury deeper the original scam.
And Elena?
Back in play. Feeding him my board minutes. I played along. Sign the LOI. Due diligence danced like a duel, his auditors combing my books. Me mirroring on his. Buried in his ledgers? The secret's rotten core. Not just fraud, but the human cost. Migrant laborers stiffed on wages for his solar builds. Safety violations buried under NDAs. One name leaped, Tomas Rivera. A foreman crushed in a trench collapse. Payout funneled through me as consulting fees to his widow. I'd signed the check. Blind trust in Victor's generosity.
Now.
Ghosts rose. Confrontation brewed. I leaked the Rivera file to a labor rag, anonymous. Of course. Protests erupted outside his HQ. Pickets chanting Kane kills for clicks. Stock dipped 20%. He called. Voice eraser. This you?
Petty. Lil.
Real low. I feigned shock.
Vic.
Karma's a bitch with a long memory. Merger talk stalled. He accused sabotage. Threatened injunctions. But the flip came swift. Public mea culpa on LinkedIn. Lessons from loss. Owning my failures. Comments flooded. Cancel Kane trending. Then forgive and thrive as he donated to worker funds. Cunning bastard. He was rallying the moderates. Painting me the vengeful harpy. My board pressured. Cut a deal.
Lillian.
Or we fracture. Sleepless nights clawed me. Dreams of orange jumpsuits. Victor's laughter echoing in cell block corridors. Was this revenge or self-destruction? Rita urged escalation. Hit him where it hurts, the legacy. The play exposed the full mosaic at the next journal summit. A TED-style keynote I'd been invited to deliver. From betrayal to breakthrough. Victor got wind. Crashed the green room pre-talk. Cologne sharp as accusation. Don't do this.
Lil.
We're both winners here. His eyes pleaded, but the micro-tremor in his jaw betrayed the bluff. I adjusted my lapel mic. Winners? You mean survivors. See you in the audience. The auditorium hummed, 500 power players. Screens aglow with my slides, timelines of fraud, affair screenshots blurred for taste. Rivera's photo faded in like a specter. Gasps rippled as I narrated. I took the fall for a man who said I couldn't lead. But leadership? It's not climbing alone. It's dismantling the ladders that trap others. Applause built. Thunderous. Until Victor stood midway. Mike snatched from a moderator.
Lies.
Half-truths from a bitter ex. There it was. The divorce he'd filed quietly post-gala. Citing irreconcilable differences. The room split, boos for him. Cheers for me. Security escorted him out. I finished to a standing O. But backstage. The twist nod, a voicemail from Elena. Voice quaking. Lillian. It's not what you think. Victor.
He's sick.
Cancer. Stage 4. The merger? It was for you. To leave you everything.
Sick?
Or sick lie. I drove home through sheets of rain. Wipers slashing like accusations. Tests confirmed nothing. His oncologist's office stonewalled. Bluff. Surely. Yet, doubt seeded. A weed in my victory garden. Months ground on. Harper thrived. Expansions to coasts. Me on magazine covers. The queen of comeback. Victor faded. Firms sold at fire sale prices. Him decamping to a Naples condo. Retiring amid health rumors. Olive branches arrived. Apology letters. Shared custody of our phantom kids. We deferred. Career first. I ignored them. Until the summons. Wrongful death suit from Rivera's family. Naming me co-defendant. You sign the checks.
Yes.
Harper. Panic clawed. Victor's final flip, dragging me back into the muck he'd created. Depositions loomed. Headlines twisting. Logistics queen linked to labor death. My empire teetered. Investors fled like rats. Reader rallied. Fight dirty. Subpoena his ass. The hearing was a circus. Federal courthouse in the loop. Paparazzi swarming like locusts. Victor testified first. Frail in a wheelchair. Oxygen mask fogging his words. I was desperate. Your honor. Lillian knew. She enabled it all for our dream. Lies. Venomous. My turn. Cross-exam. Voice cracking as I laid bare the coercion. The love that blinded. Jury deliberated days. Verdict? Hung. Mistrial. No winners. Just endless appeals. In the lobby post-adjournment, he wheeled to me, gaunt, eyes hollow. Truce. Lil, before it's too late, this time. The tremble was real. Scans I'd bribed a nurse for confirmed. Pancreatic. Aggressive. The secret's apex. He confessed to the Fed's pre-diagnosis. Plea bargain trading my exoneration for his testimony. Buried deep in discovery docs. Overlooked in the frenzy. I knelt. Took his hand cold.
Papery.
Why now? He coughed.
Wet.
Because you won, baby. Always did. Forgiveness? Or final con? I walked out into winter sleet. The twist uncoiling, his deathbed codicil. Leaving his residual patents to me, fuel for my next empire. Legacy or liability? The board debated. Ethicists decried.
Me?
I accepted. Because revenge isn't erasure, it's inheritance. Tainted and triumphant. But nights, Alone in the penthouse he'd once mocked as my folly, I wonder, did I beat him?
Or did he let me?
The mountain summit blurs in fog. And the fall. It's always waiting. Inheritance isn't a gift, it's a grenade with the pin half pulled. Victor's patents, EV charging grids, AI-optimized wind farms, dropped into my lap like contraband, valued at $200 million but laced with liens from his creditors. The board meeting was a coliseum, Rita thumping the table for acquisition. This catapults us to unicorn status. While our CFO, a buttoned-up Midwesterner named Greg, warned of toxic assets, lawsuits waiting to hatch. Ethicists? They weren't in the room. But Twitter was ablaze. Harper hypocrite trending. Activists picketing our HQ with signs. Blood batteries? No thanks. Rivera's widow had lawyered up, her suit morphing into a class-action behemoth. I paced the glass-walled conference room, Chicago's steel spires mocking my indecision. Except, and I owned his sins, scaled them into my success. A Frankenstein empire stitched from his rotting flesh. Reject? Watch competitors, snap them up, twisting his legacy into daggers aimed at my throat. We're not vultures, I said finally, voice echoing off the acoustics panels. But we're not saints. Audit everything. Integrate clean. The vote passed 7-3, dissenters bought out at premium. Victory. Pyrrhic as always. Spring 2024 bloomed bloody. Merging ops meant gutting redundancies, layoffs in his old guard. Whispers of favoritism toward my hires. Elena resurfaced. Not as foe but fixer. Victor wanted me to help. Said you two were peas in a pod. Ruthless dreamers. I hired her back. Probationary. Her intel gold on the patent's booby traps. We scrubbed the grids for compliance. Pivoted wind tech to community solar, co-ops in underserved hoods. Revenue shared with locals. PR spun it as redemption renewables, but skeptics snarled. Whitewashing widows' blood money. Victor's decline accelerated. Hospice reports trickling via Elena. Morphine drips. Lucid hours shrinking. I visited once. Against Rita's hiss of don't give him the satisfaction. The Naples facility smelled of bleach and regret. Palm fronds scratching windows like accusatory fingers. He was skeletal, hooked to monitors beeping dirges. Lil, he rasped. No preamble. You take it all?
Good.
Build bigger. For me. I sat. The vinyl chair creaking under unspoken weight.
Why?
Vic, the patents, the confession, suicide by proxy? His laugh dissolved into coughs. Proxy?
Nah.
You were always the brains. I just steered. Confessions spilled then. Unbidden. The fraud's origin not greed. But his father's suicide. Bankrupt in '08. No blaming weak men who can't provide. Victor's armor. Overbuild. Overlie. Overreach.
Me?
His mirror. Reflecting the vulnerability he despised. Sympathy cracked my armor. A fissure. You destroyed us. He nodded. Eyes glassy.
Yeah. But you?
Unbreakable. That's why I framed you, test the steel. Madness or method? I left with more questions. The drive back a blur of highway hypnosis. Was our marriage his experiment? My prison his forge? The twist deepened. Elena's midnight email. Attachments heavy. Victor's journals.
Digitized.
Pages chronicled us from courtship, me. Firecracker with a calculator brain. To betrayal, she'll fold or fight, bet on fight. Buried mid-volume. Admission of tampering. The thumb drive found in his golf bag. planted by him, bait to ignite my spark. Rage reignited, tempered now by pity's dross. I burned the drives, metaphorically shredded, salted the earth. But the class action loomed, depositions dredging ghosts. Rivera's widow, Maria, testified via video, hollow-eyed, clutching a faded photo. He promised justice. She signed the silence.
Me?
On stand. I was coerced.
Blind.
But ignorance isn't absolution. Jury leaned sympathetic. Victor's pre-death plea had cleared my felony. Reduced to misdemeanor, but awarded $50 million. Split liability. Harper's stock dipped 15%. I covered from personal reserves. The patent's first fruits. Summer scorched into crisis. A whistleblower, ex-Kane engineer, leaked memos, Victor's directives to cut corners on the trench. Me unknowingly greenlighting via email chain. Harper knew, screamed the Trib. Protests swelled, bottles shattering against our doors. Rita evacuated the C-suite. I faced the mob alone, megaphone in hand from the steps. I didn't know then. I know now. And I'm paying every cent, every job created in Tomas's name. Community solar grants announced on the spot. $10 million to worker retraining in Gary. Cameras captured the pivot, chance shifting from rage to wary cheers. But Victor's shadow lingered, cunning even in coma. His estate executor called final codicil amendment. Contestable. Contingent on your success, if Harper hits $1 billion valuation by end of year. Full transfer. Else. Auctions to highest bidder. Gambler's last bet. Flipping fate to me. Valuation soared on the solar buzz, $850M by Q3, but scandals capped it. Elena confided over whiskey. He loved you. Twisted. Wanted you to win ugly. Like him. Love, or the ultimate con. Force my hand to dirty deeds. Prove his thesis. Success devours souls. Fall leaves bled red as we hustled. Acquisitions in Cali. IPO whispers. Board fractures widened. Greg resigned, citing moral quagmire. I recruited a successor, a black female VC from Detroit. All edges and ethics. We're building clean. Or not at all. Her first act, divest the tainted grids. Repurpose to microfarms for food deserts. Revenue dipped. But loyalty surged, team morale hit peaks. Turnover zero. Thanksgiving loomed. Victor slipped away quietly. Obit in the Sun-Times. Pioneer of progress. Loving husband. No mention of me. Funeral? Invite only. Elena proxy. I sent lilies, white, for purity's lie. Valuation ticked $980 million. The board greenlit aggressive marketing. Billboards proclaiming from ashes to abundance. Critics howled co-optation. Fans hailed evolution. December dawned decisive. Holiday party at the Palmer House, site of my triumph. Now irony's altar. Toast of the year, IPO filed. Projections stratospheric. Then the call. Executor's voice. Neutral. Valuation confirmed. $1.02 billion. Patent's yours.
Yes.
Harper. Cheers erupted. I excused to the balcony. City lights a constellation of conquests. But the twist uncoiled vicious. Maria Rivera's attorney. In a sealed filing. Revealed Victor's confession partial. He'd pinned residuals on me. A backdoor clause shielding his estate. The $50 million? Bait to bankrupt me. Forced sale of Harper assets to his silent partners. Cunning to the crypt. I laughed. Bitter. Into the wind, because I'd anticipated. Lawyered preemptively. Countersuit buried it. The patents? Leveraged for a buyout of those partners, folding their stakes into Harper. Legacy secured. But at what cost? Maria got her settlement tripled. From my conscience fund. Elena stayed. Partner track. Rita raised a glass to complicated victories. Complicated? Hell. It was a Rorschach blot. Heroic reclamation or opportunistic grave robbing. Forums debated. Lillian's a boss babe versus enabler turned executor.
Me?
I poured another, toasting the man who'd forged me in fraud's fire. The mountain? Conquered. But the view, it's all cliffs. No horizon. New Year 2025 broke with a bang. Harper IPO'd at $28 a share. Confetti cannons in the NYSE Bell Tower. My face on Bloomberg as the unsinkable Lillian. Pundits parsed it, revenge porn or Phoenix Rising. The valuation hit $2.5 billion overnight. Patents integrated seamlessly into our ecosystem. Community solar farms lighting up Appalachia. EV hubs in Rust Belt towns employing hundreds. Maria Rivera's suit settled out of court. Her foundation funded by a Harper endowment. Tomasa's Legacy Labs, training immigrant coders in green tech. PR gold. But whispers persisted. Blood money laundered green. Victor's ghost? Ever present. A poltergeist in board minutes. Elena unearthed more journals post-settlement, ramblings from his final days. Scrawled in faltering script, Lil's the villain I needed. Without her fall, no rise. Forgive me? Nah, fuel me. Fuel. The word haunted, implying I'd been complicit from the cradle. Had I? Those early years. Crunching his numbers, did I spot the fudges and look away? Love's blindfold tight? Therapy sessions with a shrink named DR. Voss unpacked it. Betrayals a mirror.
Lillian. What you see in him
Might echo you. I fired her after 3. Too close to the bone. Spring unfurled scandals anew. A rogue patent, Victor's pet project. A battery alloy with cobalt ties to Congolese mines, flared under NGO scrutiny. Harper's dirty secret, Vice splashed. Photos of child laborers stark against our glossy reports. Stock plunged 12%. Emergency board call. Rita's voice tinny over Zoom. Divest now. Or we're Enron 2.0. Elena advocated salvage. Refine it ethical sourcing clauses. Audits on steroids. I split the difference. Mothball the alloy. Pivot to sodium-ion alternatives. Donate cobalt royalties to Congo co-ops. Cost us $40 million. But headlines shifted. Harper's ethical pivot. The flip artists multiplied. Greg, my ex-CFO, launched a rival consultancy, poaching 2 VPs, branding as Transparent Transitions. His launch manifesto? A Medium post eviscerating legacy-tainted titans, code for me. Victor's echo. Or my paranoia. I sued for non-compete breach. He countersued for hostile poaching. Mediation in a sterile midtown suite. His smug grin across the oak. You taught me well. Lil burn bridges. Build moats. I leaned in. Learned from the master. But moats flood. Settlement. Gag. Order. My VPs returned. His firm a footnote. Summer simmered personal. A memoir pitch from Penguin. Ashes to Empire, my truth. Ghostwriter meetings in Hampton's cafes. Waves crashing like applause. But chapter stalled on the core. That prison year. Isolation's maw. Cellmate Ramona. A Czech kiter from Philly. Her stories of street justice a dark lullaby. Revenge ain't sweet. Girl, it's vinegar. Sours everything. I'd scoff then. Now. Pen hovered. Elena read drafts. Her feedback laced with Victor's cadence. Too raw. Humanize him. Readers love flawed kings.
Flawed?
Or monster mythologized. The real twist dropped in August. Anonymous packet to my doorstep. FedEx. No return. Inside, Victor's confession, full cut. Redacted for court but unfiltered here. Pages yellowed. His script looping, not just fraud, but the affair's origin. A setup to push me out. Test my resilience. Lil's too good. She'll crumble or conquer. Bet on conquer, then reclaim.
Reclaim?
The kicker. Our deferred kids? IVF embryos. Frozen in a Chicago clinic. His codicil gifting them to me. Build the family you deserve. With or without me. Embryos. The word detonated. We'd banked them pre-fraud. A someday deferred by ambition's treadmill.
Now.
Sole custodian. Thaw. Implant.
Or destroy.
Rita. PR nightmare. Widow's womb wars. Elena. His last con. Tie you to him forever.
DR.
Voss. Rehired reluctantly. Choice is yours.
Lillian.
But legacies aren't blood. They're choices. I visited the clinic. Sterile halls echoing my heels. Vials labeled Harpercane 2015. Potential halved by time. Destroy? Erase his DNA from my future. Implant? Risk a child born of poison ivy. Debate forums lit up when news leaked. Greg's doing Lillian legacy versus eugenics empire. Feminist split, empowerment or patriarchal puppetry. I chose.
Delay.
Cryostorage extended. Decision tabled. But the seed planted doubt. Was my empire childless by design? Or fear? Fall harvest reaped bounties. Harper acquired Greg's firm. Hostile bid. $15 million premium to shut him up. Solar farms went online. Powering 50,000 homes emissions-free. Business of the Year? Nominated again. Frontrunner unchallenged. Gala loomed. Palmer House Redux. This time, I arrived solo. Emerald gown retired for midnight blue. Color of bruises healed. Ceremony scripted. When announced. Speech prepped. Success isn't solitary, it's stolen. Shared. Sanctified. But Victor's specter crashed via video tribute. Pre-recorded. Him hail. Pre-cancer. Toasting from a yacht. To Lillian, the woman who built what I only dreamed. Women don't just build success, they redefine it. Laughter. Tears in the crowd. I froze. Mic limp. Pre-recorded? Elena confessed post. His gift. Cued by the executor on valuation trigger. The room blurred. Applause swelled. I rallied. To Victor, flawed architect of my fire. May we all rise from ruins. Ovation crested. Backstage. Elena hugged tight. He meant it. You know.
Did he?
Or final flip. Sanctify the sinner. Blur the lines? Post-gala. Penthouse quiet. I uncorked vintage Dom. Victor's favorite. Poured 2 flutes. One for me. One for the void. Valuation? For $1 billion.
Kids?
Consulted experts, singleton viable. Surrogate lined up. But the memoir?
Shelved.
Truth too tangled for tidy arcs. Dawn broke over the lake. Gulls wheeling like judgments. I won, Business of the Year. Empire eternal. But the hook twists eternal. Was revenge my summit? Or his script? Readers, you decide, hero, villain, or the ghost between.
Me?
I'll keep climbing. vinegar on my tongue, wondering if the fall was ever mine to fear.